Hello guys, it's Jason once again. I hope the con is going really well for you. Today I am joined by David, the community manager of Doomtown Reloaded, and also Joe, who is the tournament organizer for the con and also for the Octagon Leagues. Hello to both of you.
Hello. How's it going?
First, I want to talk about the card game as a whole, really. For those of you who don't know, who've never heard of Doomtown Reloaded, basically it is essentially... It's a card game. It was a collectible card game back in the day, but now it's kind of developed into what's called an expandable card game. So you start off with a set deck, and then you can build on it with expansions. And essentially, you build your deck, you create a town in the Weird West, which is part of the Deadlands Savage Worlds setting. You move around the town with your dudes, you keep it safe, and of course you have shootouts. Joe, I want to ask you first of all, actually, what's your experience with tournaments? I mean, the game's been out for a few years now, so have you seen sort of a shift in how people play, or has it been more a case of as the expansions have come out, things have just sort of grown naturally over time?
Yeah, so it's been at least a couple of years now that I've been running the tournaments on Octagon, so it's pretty unique. We're pretty much the only tournament that's run online. Pretty much all the other tournaments, you'll go to an actual game store. So it's unique in that aspect. But it was about a year ago was the Kickstarter for Doomtown. We saw a huge uptick in attendance at that point. So it hasn't gone down since then. We're hoping it either gets more or, we keep the same. There's been a couple tournaments since then, and yeah, attendance has been awesome. So we've been really happy with that.
Awesome. And in terms of a tournament, because I know that there's quite a lot of different aspects to the mechanics of the game, but as a tournament, is it more just a case of, okay, the winner goes forward, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, so when we do this online, it's typically a league format. So people will, on their own time, they'll find opponents who are ready to play, and they'll have a game and record it. We haven't done an actual online tournament where it's elimination.
Okay.
So basically, you just get to play to your heart's content, which is great. But I do like both styles actually. So when I do play in a local tournament here in Madison, Wisconsin, and we play the elimination, but that's not how we run it online.
Awesome. So David, I want to ask you as well about sort of Deadlands overall and the card game. I mean, yes, there was the collectible card game back in sort of 1998, but obviously it's changed so much since then, and it's almost resurrected, if you like, into this new, reincarnation. How did this start? What caused you to say, right, we want to do sort of a new card game for Deadlands?
Well, I wasn't part of the initial AEG relaunch. They initially started it in 2014. I think they wanted to bring it back to see if there was still interest, and also we knew Legend of the Five Rings they had at the time, that this might have been a test run to see what that was like as an LCG, which ultimately went to AEG. But when the game had ceased with that company, a group of us formed Pine Box, and we went to Shane at Pinnacle Entertainment Group and said, hey, there's still a lot of love for this product, a lot of things we can still do with this game. Would you be willing to continue it? So it took a while, but eventually we got the Kickstarter going. One of the ways we got people to keep going with it or get back into it, was the offer to get the old sets at a discount. And like Joe said, that was kind of like the resurgence to get the game going again. So really it's just a lot of love for the IP that, me and a lot of other guys have, that we were able to get this going and kind of, give Doomtown a third life, so to say.
Yeah, definitely in terms of a third life. So more in terms of the mechanics now, I personally have never played the card game. I'm a little bit familiar with Deadlands as a setting, but in terms of sort of approachability, would you say that it's more suitable for people who've played some Deadlands games or know the setting well, or is it something that, since it's a card game, people can jump in at their leisure?
I think both, because it is a card game that's very much a board game, and that's really kind of the way that we approach it. If you are a fan of Deadlands and the story, it has that appeal. But if you're also just a fan of card games or poker, it fits that element as well. David Orange, our project manager, we generally put him on demo duty because at the conventions, because he's real great at showing people just that have nothing to do with Deadlands, never heard of the game, the story element to it, to kind of hit both sides. So I think, the answer is to both. I think it has that appeal, and you don't need to be part of either to enjoy it.
Okay, cool. And in terms of expansions, because yes, a lot have come out. Do you have any in the works that are soon to come out?
Yeah, we just released Too Tough to Die. That is the first expansion that brings the game into the Tombstone setting. Out for Blood is the next one. At the time of this recording, currently, that's been play tested, we do something a little bit different than other card games, or maybe the way the normal process works, where we actually do the cards first and then look at the art. We are taking a lot of old Deadlands stuff combined with new pieces and actually revisiting the black and white pieces. Something that the people that like Deadlands will appreciate is we're using the same coloring process that they did for Deadlands 20th anniversary, where we're taking these black and white images from a lot of the books and getting them colored for the card game. So Out for Blood, I think we're suspected for first quarter of 2019, and Too Tough to Die, I know they're currently working on getting that to retail.
That sounds fantastic. Feel free at this point to jump in, Joe, because I guess the other questions I had in mind, like either of you could sort of have your perspective on this. Tell me a bit about how you actually deck build, because as I mentioned before, you have your set base deck. They're all the same in each box. But then, of course, there are so many expansions, and I'm sure, if people are watching this who are big fans of the game, they'll be, drooling at the fact that these few expansions are coming out as well in order to customize. How do you go about customizing? Like, what's the starting point of how you would do that?
Joe, do you want to field that one?
Sure, I'll take that one. That's not an easy question. But that's definitely, I think by far, that's my favorite aspect of this game is deck building for sure. There's a lot of room for creativity. It can be simple. It can be extremely complex. It's super nuanced, and I've been playing this game for 5 years, and I still, every time I build a new deck, I'm surprised at at how it ends up.
Yeah, I would say one thing.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll let you continue, but I'd say one thing that's very different is, some card games, you can say a deck and someone recognizes it, in a tier format. And with Doomtown, there's not a lot of similarity between decks. You might play the same outfit, but I think the game's at a point where you sit down and unless you know the person, you probably don't know their deck. And that's one of the most unique parts about it.
And it's how the game is right now, and with all the sets that have come out, it's when you go to a tournament, you could literally see anything and not be surprised. There's a lot of variety. So I don't know if we want to get into the details of.
Well, to quickly go over it, you're building a poker deck. It has to be 54 cards. The jokers are optional, but they're in most decks. Your spades are your characters, your dudes. The diamonds are your deeds, the locations you put on the board. Hearts are your attachments, your spells, your mad science gadgets, weapons, sidekicks, and the clubs are your actions. You can't have any more than 4 of the same value. The way they do that is, so you can only have 16 aces in your deck, because there is a poker element to it. If anyone goes on the Pine Box Entertainment website, there is some learn to play videos on there, quick tutorials to kind of further explain what we're talking about. But the basic idea of it is you have a starting group that you choose, and when you get into shootouts with the deck, that's where the poker values come in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was aware of the poker amount, and I was curious as to how the deck building would work, considering the cards that you have also have, the 8 clubs on, for example. So presumably you have to put them in with the corresponding numbers, or else it wouldn't work.
Yep, and basically, when you go to shoot, you can show cheating hands, like 5 aces isn't legal, and there's cards that punish people for doing that.
Awesome. Having said that, with all the sort of the deck building element, which to me it very much reminds me of sort of the big trading card games almost, it is very story driven. I know that there is the setting there, obviously, but can you tell me a bit more about how the story element works and how much that shapes the game?
I think what at least it's done for our game is kind of shaped. We allow the players to kind of control where we went with the game. When we took it over as Pine Box, we actually had a European event where the winner chose the next destination, which was Tombstone. So we're actually allowing players to help influence what we're doing with the story. We've got 3 big events coming next year. We're calling the Twilight Protocol series. One's going to be at Genghis Khan in February outside Denver. The next is Chupacabra Con in Austin in May. And then our equivalent of a world championship is going to actually be in Tombstone next October. And these events allow people to influence the story, which is directly part of the Deadlands canon. That's probably the easiest way to say how the story influences it. Our next one coming up to end this year is PAX Unplugged. We're having an event where players that represent good versus evil in the matchup. Those familiar with Deadlands know there's the Servitors, the Reckoners of the Apocalypse. They're in the game now as part of the first Kickstarter set. So when we see a matchup where someone's using one of those characters or an evil faction versus a good faction, we're letting them actually decide to name cards that are going to be in upcoming sets. So that's another great part about the game and the community is people coming together because you can actually talk about how you want to influence the story of it.
And whether good or evil faction, for each of you, which of the factions are your favorites and why?
Oh, that's a hard question.
I suppose there are a few of them now, aren't there?
Yeah, I'll start. So when I first learned about the game, I fell in love with the Sloan Gang, which is kind of like the Outlaws. I stuck with them for a long time, but since then I've played pretty much everything under the sun. So I don't know that I have a favorite right now, but I think the Sloan, which are now called the Outlaws, I think they'll always have a special place in my heart.
I'm actually with Joe on that. They're the same with me. Because in Classic, I liked Blackjacks a lot, and anyone familiar with Classic, it translates pretty well. So that would also be my favorite.
Okay. And then actually with the factions, I'm a little bit curious because there are other sort of large games that use factions like Star Realms, where sometimes you might want to specialize in one, like, for example, the Sloan Gang, or you might want to sort of do it with 2. So in terms of how you play, are you 2 people who prefer, just one faction all the way down, like the Sloan Gang, or do you like to mix it around a bit in terms of the factions you've got?
I think we both play all of them, right, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, so when you actually make a deck, though, you're confined to just starting dudes of that outfit, along with some neutral dudes. You can play other dudes in your deck, but it can be a little expensive. They can cost extra. So usually when you make a deck, you tend to stick with one. But I don't know if that was your question, but yeah.
Another good example resource for people following along is dtdb.co. That's the website for the deck builder, And what's awesome, because Joe actually taught me how to play on Octagon, you can make a deck on there and it'll make you an Octagon file. And it just imports the deck list into Octagon. And to speak of that briefly too, one of the reasons we wanted to support, besides it being a charity event, the Octagon platform is that there's Doomtown players all over the world. And sometimes you'll find play groups that are very small, like 4 to 6 players, or most of the small events, where Octagon gives that opportunity to bring all of us together.
We do have a Discord channel where, every day we get new people coming on there. There's a new players section, and they'll ask like, "Hey, what do you think about this idea?" Or, "I have no idea where to start. Where should I start?" And there's tons of veterans on there that are always helping people out. So we welcome people to the Discord channel for sure.
And if you go to the DTDB site, there is a link to join the Discord channel there.
We'd be thrilled to have new players. So if you can just come by the Discord channel, we will guide you step by step, and we'll get you started.
I will say one of the big things with Doomtown is we have a real focus on participation. We can't offer a whole lot tournament-wise in prizes. As I say it, you play this game to have fun. Basically, we took something that's really a board game, and we all made it into something bigger. So when you come in to join the league, there's a lot of guys willing to help out, participate. You don't have to view it as a big competition, and that's kind of where we go with our organized play mentality. Is we're actually trying to move away from the word tournament to it's kind of hard online. There's not really another word for it, but as far as our in-person events, we call them gatherings now, or social events. So we're trying to break down that barrier of it being a competitive game, to say, hey, no, this is a game that you can enjoy with your friends, and that's why we all get together to play.
And would you guys like to say any final words to the people watching today at Compass One?
Yeah, I'll start. Like I said, if anybody's interested in just checking it out, come by Discord, hit someone up. We'd love to show people the ropes. And if you can't, if you're a Doomtown player and you're watching this and you can't join Octagon, please either hit me up on Discord or Facebook or the forums or anywhere. And if you could sponsor one of our players, that would be awesome. We're doing we're trying to encourage people to get sponsors to, here's a suggestion of $5 per game or $2 per game or whatever you can do. And if, they manage to play 2 or 3 games, then, that'll add on to our donations. So that would be a great way you can support us. And if you're not a Doomtown player, we'd love to show you the ropes.
And Joe, are you on Discord, are you Prodigy or Joe James?
I think I'm Joe James, yeah.
Okay, so anybody on Discord should be able to find you there. There is a channel, I think there's a channel dedicated for Octagon and the channel for new players.
Yep.
So I would say, just as final word, just thank you everybody for continuing to support Doomtown. It would not have come back if not for everyone who made the Kickstarter happen and is continuing to support this great game. And if you're just joining in as a Deadlands fan, there's going to be a lot of awesome stuff coming up. We're hoping to work around with the Dark Ages that just got announced today as part of Savage Worlds, and basically keep a Doomtown going through next year to our big event in Tombstone.
Fantastic. So thank you both very much, guys, for joining me on the interview today, and thank you for your time and your support for Compass One. For those of you in the tournament, if you're watching, best of luck to you, and may the best dude win.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey guys, this is Joe, tournament organizer of the Octagon Online League for the Abomination series, and please give what you can. This is a fantastic cause, and hope to see you there.
Hi, this is Dave Lapp from Pine Box Entertainment. Thank you all so much for joining our online league for the Doomtown Abomination series. Please donate what you can. This is for a good cause for Child's Play. For those who don't know, outside of Pine Box, I am a child abuse investigator for the state. And so when I saw this cause, this was very important to me. So thank you all very much, and please donate what you can.